Chapter 24, My Girl. Morena and I drove to a liquor store where she picked up some beer. Then we drove to her basement apartment, located across the street from Maplewood Park. Her apartment was basically empty. All she had was a big waterbed, a stove, and a refrigerator. But at least it was clean. Morena pulled out about an ounce of marijuana from under her pillow, gave it to me with a pack of strawberry-flavored rolling papers, and told me to roll some joints. We sat there drinking, smoking, and talking trash for a couple of hours. Then the conversation turned to the subject of what it meant to be a Latin king. Morena excused herself and told me to make myself at home. She came back about a half hour later. Morena had bathed and changed into some shorts and a t-shirt. She looked pretty sexy. She apologized for taking so long and explained that she felt kind of muggy, so she decided to clean herself up. Morena brought a notebook with her. The cover of that notebook had the words Nation Literature written on it. The notebook contained the laws, prayers, and purpose of the Latin kings. I always thought of the Latin kings as just a big street gang, but there was obviously more to its history than that. Morena told me that the Latin kings were formed a long time ago when Puerto Ricans first started coming to Chicago. In those times, she explained, Puerto Ricans were being victimized by whites and the blacks. They formed the Latin kings as a way to protect themselves and began fighting back. As time went by, the Latin kings became well known and were feared throughout the city. The Puerto Rican community was so supportive of the Latin kings that they allowed them to have a float in the annual Puerto Rican parade. But these things were all in the past. Now, Puerto Ricans were labeled as very violent and criminally minded people because of the actions of the Latin kings. I understood why such a gang would be formed by an ethnic group to protect its members, but I did not understand why now this gang was fighting others of the same race. I asked Morena about it. She simply said that those other gangs were traitors. They were gangs started by guys who were once members of the Latin kings. They wanted to be chiefs without first being nobodies. Morena went on explaining the contents of the notebook. She explained that the laws were made to keep discipline among the kings and queens. There were laws written in the notebook that I never saw anybody following or respecting, like the one that said, honor your parents, or the strict laws concerning too much drug use. I just couldn't see how being in the street gang, staying out at all times of the night, taking a chance on going to jail, or getting killed was honoring your parents. I did notice that the members who were acting this way often came from a family situation similar to mine. There were others, however, who had both parents at home but did nothing to honor and respect them. I also found it kind of funny reading laws regarding drug use while sitting there with the joint in my mouth and a whole bag of weed waiting to be smoked. Morena explained that what the drug laws meant was that you should be able to control your high. They also meant that becoming a junkie would not be tolerated. In other words, the drug laws were basically about just the highly addictive drugs like heroin, cocaine, and PCP. It was the most hypocritical shit I had ever heard. Morena read the different prayers that all gang members had to memorize. There was one in particular that had to be memorized 1 week after the initiation took place. Failure to do so would result in discipline. I believe Morena's intention was to prepare me for what I was about to get into. What she did, however, was confuse me more than I had been to begin with. Finally, she put the notebook away and made me a promise not to tell anybody that she had ever shown it to me before I was a member. I assured her that I would keep it between the two of us. We continued smoking and drinking, and soon the conversation became sexual in nature. We joked and laughed about each other's sexual experiences. I had initially had sexual thoughts about Morena, but from the beginning she treated me like her little brother. I respected her more than any other girl. Nevertheless, we were high on her bed and talking about sex. I decided to make a move on her. The fantasies I once had about Morena were suddenly coming true. We were graduating from best friends to lovers. I was making love to my best friend. How fortunate I felt. Morena laid there with her eyes closed and let me do anything I wanted to. I took full advantage of her willingness. The next morning we woke up in each other's arms. The first thing that came to my mind was how envious all the other guys would have been if I would have told them that Morena was my lady. Morena woke up and looked at me with an expression that said, "What the hell are you doing here?" Then she noticed we were both naked. She got up, raging mad about what had happened between us the night before. She began cursing and accusing me of taking advantage of her intoxication. I was shocked at her sudden reaction. I tried talking to her, but she wouldn't listen to me. When she finally did calm down, I tried to explain what happened between us was mutual and that I did not take advantage of her. I should have kept my mouth shut. Those words just made her flip out again. "You're just a fucking little kid," she screamed. Morena lifted the corner of the waterbed and pulled out a gun. She put it to my head and said, "You little raping bastard, I ought to kill you. If you ever tell anyone about this, I will kill you." She pulled my hair and pressed the gun against my cheekbone. She pushed me and I fell on the bed. She put on a t-shirt and left the room, mumbling obscenities. I got dressed and left for Maria's apartment. Maybe Morena was too high to notice what was happening. Maybe she was regretful. Maybe I wasn't that good. Whatever the reason was, her anger was real. The drugs and alcohol clouded our judgment to the point where we had different interpretations of our actions. In Morena's mind, I had taken advantage of her while she slept. In my mind, Morena had been a willing participant. The only thing we agreed on was that our relationship was threatened. I never had the desire to brag about having sex with Morena or even mention it. What happened that night is one of those things one completely blocks out as if it never happened. That morning I learned that sex could put a strain on a friendship. I still block out that night. To me, it never happened. I got to Maria's, took a shower, and sat down to watch television. The incident with Morena was still fresh on my mind. I had been pretty confused about life as a gang member, but now I was completely lost. I didn't know what to expect. Maria was not home. When she arrived, she immediately started nagging me about my swollen eye. "Stupido, stupid," she said. "How can you be such a pendejo?" After cleaning and dressing the wound from my fight with Speedy, she told me about her new boyfriend. He was a nice guy, she said, which really surprised me because Maria rarely had anything good to say about men. She planned on introducing me as her son. Maria had this glowing look on her face and a big smile. At first, I thought that this guy was just another lover in Maria's life, but something told me that this guy just might be someone special. Maria told me that her daughter Lucy was pregnant and had moved in with her baby's father and his parents. She expressed hope that maybe Lucy would finally get her life together once she became a mother. That afternoon, Morena came by to talk to me. I didn't know how to react to her visit, so I threw myself on her mercy, hoping that she had left her gun at home. Luckily, Morena had completely calmed down. We talked about the night before and she apologized for reacting the way she did. Morena explained that she became angry because she knew that the beautiful friendship we shared would never be the same again. I assured her that nothing had changed between us and that we could go on being friends just like before. Deep down, however, I knew she was right. Although I was saying the things that I knew she wanted to hear, my mind was on her body, how sexy she was, and how good it felt to make love to her. Morena and I used to be able to sit and talk for hours without worrying about offending each other. Now I found myself looking for the right words to say. I was mostly undressing her with my eyes, wanting to kiss her, hold her, and ultimately make love to her again. Morena knew exactly what was going through my mind. She looked at me and began laughing. Then she got up and kissed me passionately. After that kiss, I thought for sure she would be mine. Morena grabbed my face, looked me straight in the eye and said, "I hope you enjoyed that kiss. It's the last." She told me that we would not be able to hang out together anymore. "I should have dotted your other eye," she said as she started down the stairs. Morena ignored my calls. She didn't even turn back to wave goodbye. Just like that, it seemed our friendship was gone. I thought about her for a while and realized that I was regretting ever making love to Morena. I couldn't believe it, but I was actually feeling bad about having sex with a beautiful girl. Finally, the weekend had come to an end and it was time to go back to school.